I grew up believing my life was ordinary. I lived with my mom, Angela, in a quiet neighborhood outside of Dallas, Texas. It was just the two of us for as long as I could remember. My biological dad left when I was 4, so my memories of him were faint, like faded photographs you see, but can't quite feel attached to. Mom worked 2 jobs, waitressing at night and doing office work during the day, just to keep us afloat. Life was tough, but we were happy, and I thought nothing would ever change. That all shifted the day Mom introduced me to David. He was the man who would later become my stepdad. At first, I didn't know what to think of him. David seemed calm, almost too calm, like nothing rattled him. He had kind eyes, the type that made you feel like he was really listening when you spoke. I was 15 at the time, and the idea of Mom dating again felt strange. I had grown so used to it being just us two that the thought of someone else entering our little world made me defensive. Still, David never pushed himself into my space. He respected my boundaries and slowly, over time, started to feel less like a stranger and more like someone who was rooting for me. When Mom finally married him a year later, I still wasn't sure how I felt. I wasn't ready to call him Dad, but he became part of my world whether I liked it or not. The moment that changed everything happened one night in the middle of a thunderstorm. I had always hated storms. The sound of heavy rain against the windows, the booming thunder, the flashing lightning, it all made me feel small and powerless. That night, I was studying for an exam in my room when the power went out. I panicked. I tried to play it cool, but my chest tightened and my breathing grew fast and shallow. Memories of being little and crying during storms came flooding back. I sat in the dark, hugging my knees, trying not to cry, when suddenly, I heard a soft knock at my door. "It's David," his calm voice said. "You okay in there?" I wanted to say yes, to brush it off and pretend I was fine, but the words caught in my throat. Before I could answer, he opened the door, holding a flashlight. The beam of light cut through the darkness, and for a moment, I felt relief just seeing someone else there. "You don't look okay," he said gently, kneeling down beside me. "Storms get to you, huh?" I nodded, embarrassed. "I hate them." Instead of laughing or dismissing me, David sat down on the floor with me. "I used to hate them too," he said. "When I was a kid, my dad would tell me stories during storms, so I'd focus on his voice instead of the thunder. Want me to tell you one?" I blinked at him, surprised. I wasn't expecting him to share something personal, and before I could stop myself, I whispered, "Yeah." And so, he told me a story about how he once got caught in a storm while fishing with his brother. The way he described it was so detailed and funny that I found myself laughing, forgetting the fear buzzing in my chest. Every time thunder boomed, he'd make the story even more dramatic, distracting me without making me feel childish. That night, I realized something about David. He wasn't trying to replace my dad. He wasn't trying to force me into accepting him. He was just there, steady, calm, and willing to sit with me in the dark when I was scared. As months turned into years, moments like that kept happening. When I failed my driver's test, he didn't scold me. He handed me the keys to his old truck and said, "Let's practice until you're ready." No pressure. When I got into a fight with my best friend, he listened, really listened, and then gave me advice without judging me. When I graduated high school, he was the one who cried the hardest in the crowd, cheering my name. But the moment I truly couldn't believe what my stepdad did came years later. I was in college by then and life was messy. I was stressed, juggling classes and a part-time job, and I had gotten into a terrible argument with Mom. I felt overwhelmed and decided to drop out of school without telling anyone. I packed my things and drove back home, feeling like a failure. When I walked in the house, I expected disappointment, lectures, and anger. Instead, David sat me down at the kitchen table, looked me in the eye, and said, "You're not a failure. You're human. You tried, and it didn't work out the way you thought it would. That doesn't mean you're done. It just means you need to figure out another way." I broke down crying. For years, I thought of him as just Mom's husband. But in that moment, he felt like something more, like the father figure I never realized I needed. What he did next shocked me even more. The very next day, he called a family friend who ran a small business and got me an internship. He didn't shame me, didn't hold my mistakes against me. He gave me another chance. And when I told him I was scared to fail again, he said something I'll never forget. Failing isn't the end.
Quitting on yourself is.
And I'll never let you do that. Now, years later, looking back, I realize how lucky I was. I couldn't believe the patience, the kindness, the love my stepdad showed me even when I resisted it. He never demanded the title of dad, but he earned it through his actions. He stepped into my life when I didn't want him to, and somehow, he became the person I could lean on the most. And that's what I'll always remember. Not the storms, not the fights, not the failures, but the way he quietly showed up for me every single time. Because sometimes, what you can't believe isn't something outrageous or shocking. It's the simple, steady love of someone who chooses to stay.